For today, start of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Blythe.
Sure. Commissioner Schlangen.
Here.
Commissioner Heinen.
Here.
Commissioner Kapinski.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Pop.
Present.
Thank you.
Present.
Okay. Approve or amend the agenda. Monty.
Sure. We have three items, Mr. Chair. First is consent item number 10. It's the special event permit for Raleigh's. That's a consent item number 10. And then two items to add under administrator at 9:05. First is the appointment of a human service director. Second is the energy transition grant application as prepared by BEP. So there'll be two items to add under administrator at 9:05, and that would be it.
Move for approval of the amended agenda, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. County board meetings are broadcast live and video recorded on YouTube. Please refrain from speaking from the audience area and come to the podium so that viewers can hear you. The county board observes Robert's Rules of Orders for its meetings, so please obtain the board's chair consent before addressing the county board. Public comments are generally reserved for the open forum segment or public hearings. However, the public comment on other agenda items may be allowed at the discretion of the board chair. As we begin today, please turn off your cell phones or turn them to vibrate. Thank you. Open forum. Okay, we got nothing on the open forum. Consent agendas, items 1 through 10.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to pull number 5 and number 6, please.
Okay. Any others?
Okay.
Okay,
Motion to,
Make your motion to accept everything with number 5.
Make a motion to accept, except for number 5 and number 6.
second.
okay, we got a motion to approve consent as items 1 through 4 and 7 through 10. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Commissioner Heinen.
Number 5, Resolution 2024. Monty, it says whereas Kathleen Reuter is duly elected Benton County Attorney. I guess I need to have clarification because she wasn't elected, she was appointed by the board.
That is true, Mr. Chair.
Just want clarification.
Yeah, Kathy assumed that office via an appointment process. So I suppose you might want to consider some different wording in that regard that is more of an appointment. I mean, as I've mentioned in the past, when a person is appointed to fill out the term of an office, they effectively become the elected official with all the responsibilities and duties of that elected official. Just they got there a different way rather than being elected.
I understand, but they weren't elected, they were
That's true.
appointed.
Right.
That's all.
Is
So-
that set forth in the resolution?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Right.
So the question I have is what wording should
I
we
would,
change?
to make, I suppose, Mr. Chair, to move this matter along, you could simply say Kathy Reuter is the Benton County Attorney. And just remove the term duly elected. How about that?
That would be fine by me. I just question the elected part of it.
Okay.
That's
So we would just scratch out duly elected.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that a motion?
With that, I'll approve the motion with the word change.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second on agenda item number 5. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay,
And then number 6, with the change orders. The question I have is the last change order, and I can't find it in my computer here.
Is that the Norman
The
Avenue?
ARPA funds? About the contractor broke their, I cannot find it here.
Trencher.
Wow.
Their trencher, and then they have to go to an excavator or something now to do that. And that created a change order for us to pay more for that. I'm trying to understand that. As a
Sure.
business owner, if
Yep.
I break my equipment, that's on me.
Yeah, the change order wasn't to repair the equipment or anything. What ended up
Get
happening?
that.
Okay. What ended up, my understanding of it was the person doing the construction only had a certain size of equipment. Once that machine could not do it, they looked at two options to get the fiber trenching done. And one of the options was to bring in a larger machine at their cost, but it was determined that it would destroy the boulevard and the trees. So then they decided to bore it, which was the least disruptive. And the boring costs weren't in the original quote. So it was the boring costs that were extra for that 1,500 feet. Because trenching is cheaper.
Yeah.
So when they bid it, they bid trenching.
I get that, but that still shouldn't fall on us. That should really fall on them.
I kinda see where, Steve is saying though, if they could have brought in that bigger piece of equipment, but it would have tore up the boulevard and those repairs would ultimately probably still fall on them.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I guess I think it was an issue of not understanding what kind of ground they were gonna be going through. It was anticipated to be able to use a trencher. And when they bid it, that's just how they bid it due to state contract. I could certainly bring it back to the vendor.
That would be my recommendation, is to bring that part of the change order back to the vendor. Because when I do state contracts, I'm liable for everything regardless,
Sure.
okay? And I'm just having a hard time with it. I mean, I agree that it has to get done. I don't have a problem with that. I just have a problem of the additional cost put on us because of something that happened on their end.
And Mr. Chair, and just for clarification, Steve, they already did it.
Yeah,
So there wasn't a change order request. They're billing us after the fact.
sure.
They made a decision to do something different.
Yep.
And now they're billing us. I'd agree with Commissioner Heinen. I mean, they should have came and, somebody should have said something and said, hey, we need an approved change order because what we planned on doing is not gonna work.
Sure.
Now they're coming after the fact. That bill could have been twice that and they would have said, hey, this is what you owe us.
Mr. Chair. Steve, I just have one simple question. Did they contact you before they did this?
I'm trying to remember the order of events. I'd have to look at the process. I know there was discussion of it, but I don't recall if they said it was gonna add cost to it.
And I think too, Commissioner Kapinski, right? I mean, they made a decision not to bring a dozer in and tear up the boulevard, which I get, because then
Right.
the bill would have been a lot worse. But they still made a decision to move ahead with something different than what they bid.
Sure. Yeah, it's understandable. I can certainly bring it back to the vendor.
Mr. Chair, my second question is, I assume these are qualifying ARPA dollar.
Yeah.
yeah,
They-
That's
they
the
are.
plan, yes,
Okay.
is to use ARPA funds.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
So with that, I'm just gonna make a motion to approve the first change order of,
7770.
yep, 7770. And not approve the second change order of 5775 until further clarification.
Second.
okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other dialogue on this one? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign?
I abstain.
Okay. One
Thanks.
abstention.
Thanks, Steve. And
Yeah.
just try to get clarification
Yep.
so we can better understand this.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Commissioner Heinen. All right, we'll move on to Monty.
Mr. Chair, our recognition committee considered nominations for the second quarter and recommended recognizing Carrie Strombeck in our county attorney's office. And I believe Kathy is here to address this. Thank you. Come on up, please.
Carrie Strombeck was nominated by Dan Schub, one of our assistant county attorneys. Essentially, a situation presented itself where a defendant, through no fault of our office, but through the court records, had something that caused further penalties that were not deserving. That call was made to our office. Carrie handled that. She did some specific research on that, called the people that needed to be involved to correct that, and made sure that that was done. So it's a great example of how we're not here just to merely convict, but to seek justice. And in this situation, that person was suffering penalties they didn't deserve, probably their licensing and that type of thing. So I commend her for taking the time to do the right thing. Thank you.
So we gotta come on up. Everyone has to
Okay.
come on up.
Everybody, come on.
All right.
Everyone has to get a picture.
You gotta stand in front of us too.
It's very nice of you to come over in person. That is great.
It is.
Not everyone's willing to do that.
I was
Yeah.
told that you guys highly recommend.
Well, there's probably some truth. Thank you for doing
And we'll continue to highly recommend that.
There we go.
All right, thank you. Thanks for coming over. That's nice of you. All right. Looks like I got the next items, huh? All right. I believe the next item, Mr. Chair, is the decisions by the board.
Before we
about-
go there, I know they mentioned it was highly recommended. I hope we're not threatening them, but, but it is very nice to see them come in
Yes,
person.
I agree.
Thank you for that.
Yep, absolutely. So, Mr. Chair, the DC fly-in is coming up soon in September, and I think the board wanted to make some decisions today about who will attend on behalf of the county. It's September 17th, 18th, and 19th. I believe this is an event that's coordinated by the Transportation Alliance. They arrange visits with our congressional delegation and others in DC. So, who wishes to attend? And of course, then we'll assist you with those arrangements.
Well, I can attend this year.
And Chris Berg too.
Yeah, and Chris.
So it's Commissioner Pop, Chris Bird, any others will be going.
I will be bringing back later on, to go with the APO.
In
for the-
October.
It'll be November.
Okay.
After election. But, from my 2 cents, we've started going out there and we're starting to see federal money coming in, and I think we need to keep doing this.
So Commissioner Kapinski, so you'll be affiliated then directly with APO going?
Yep.
Will
but-
they make your arrangements and all that?
No, basically this year I would still probably be looking for funds from the county to go
Okay.
with the APO.
Okay.
Next year, if everything plays out, I'm the vice chair, so I would be the chair next year, and
Okay.
then I will be taken care of by APO that next year.
Okay.
So we'll be in touch with you, Commissioner Pop and Chris, regarding arrangements and flights and hotels, and I'm guessing the Transportation Alliance has like a block of hotels and other things arranged, right? So okay.
And for the record, I know Commissioner Johnson would like to go next year.
I would, yes.
So,
Thank you
I think
for
we'll
your
make it
willingness to go. I'm sure it's a lot of effort to walk around for 2 days straight visiting people in DC. So wearing a suit and tie,
Yeah, and I hope it's not 100 degrees like last year and the year before.
yeah, it can be really sticky there.
yeah.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, it's very important that we attend with all the federal money.
Yep.
We receive them, we're applying
Thank you for doing that, Commissioner Pop.
Yeah, I think right now, Commissioner Heinen brought up before the meeting, right now, we got about $6,000 probably in county funds for us to go in the last two years. And we've received about $6 million for them.
Pretty good return.
Pretty good return,
Really
so.
good return.
Yep. Well, if I may, Mr. Chair, I think if we could move on, and the next item is with Tessa Melvin, our consultant from DDA, to present the recommendations from year one of our class and comp maintenance program. So Tessa, I am going to make you the presenter,
I'll get you some.
and then you can control the screen.
Ask Monty.
You can, otherwise you can, Monty, I'm just using the handout.
Well, why don't you, if you can, go ahead and do the presentation. Then you can scroll through at your own pace and so on.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, we'll then pull it up.
I would want to share screen anyway, so folks that are also with us virtually can see it too. So.
All right, I'm just pulling it up.
Isn't there music to this?
Yeah.
We're not seeing it yet, so,
Yep, I'm getting there.
okay. We are seeing it now, okay.
Nothing.
Yep.
Yep, we have it.
All right, thank you, board. Perfect. All right, thank you, board chair and commissioners. I'm here just to present on kind of the ongoing maintenance of the process. It is again, reviewing job descriptions, employee completing the position review with the supervisor, rewriting, job description appeal process, market analysis, and then the classification of jobs. That's kind of where we are right now. Once the board looks at this, there will be an appeal process for the employees, but this will help Monty with budgeting, and this will just kind of help the board kind of, again, understand the process that we've done. When I was there earlier, we talked about the market trends, again, just increase in early retirements, career changes, the labor shortage, increase in work from home options, shortage in specialized trainings, anything with the certificate or licensure, and that entry retail position, $20 to $24 an hour is pushing. One thing I'll add, since we met the removal of the salary cap, we are definitely seeing some counties, and you all have seen some of the postings for administrator jobs, and some counties for commissioner jobs have increased because of that.
Tessa, are you advancing to your slide? If you are, it's not advancing for us.
So in 2024, this is the jobs that were reviewed again. What our
Tessa?
goal is to look at a third of the.
Tessa, if I may interrupt, are you advancing your
You're not
slides?
seeing it?
Yeah, they're not advancing for us, though.
Oh, yeah, oh. I am, you're not, oh, it's not. Okay,
That's what
let's
he's gonna give
see.
some to us.
I'm gonna make alternates.
Can you see my screen now, Monty?
No.
No.
Now you can't see anything.
Can see you.
All right, let's see. Maybe this isn't gonna work. I apologize, I'm not sure. It's looking like it's working.
No. Hey,
Monty, do
Monty.
you have the PowerPoint up there?
I do, just give me a second. Just give me a second.
All right, sorry, I guess you'll be my Nana.
That's okay,
Oh.
Oh, we got a new word.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not gonna be forgotten.
Nope.
Sorry, Monty.
Thanks for that, Tessa.
You're welcome. You're welcome, everyone else.
There it is,
All right, so
Vanna.
I'm on the fourth slide in 2024 jobs review, just so they can see those lists, Monty.
Hang on, just a second.
He's new in his position. Well, you're usually not presenting for somebody else.
Nana just gave me
Assigned
the side
duties as is, right?
No.
Right. Perfect, thank you, Monty.
Of course.
Vanna.
All right. You just tell me when to advance slides, Tessa.
Sure, I'm on slide 4.
Okay. I am too.
Oh, okay, perfect.
You should be able to see.
just
You should be
over
able. You should be able to see it too, since I've shared screen.
Yep, I see the main one and then I just see the slides, but as long as you guys can see it, I'm okay.
Okay.
Basically, those jobs are reviewed, we try to pick a third third to look at the actual job description. We're looking at the entire market every year, so if a job starts falling out, we may add that into the mix, or if there's a classification request or a new position, or retirement and you're trying to get a reorg. So the list isn't always set, but we try to figure a list of a third, so that individuals can know when they're up. It's somewhat randomized, and not always impacting the entire department at once. So that's how those jobs were picked. On the next slide, we just talk about the benchmarks and how the county picked those benchmarks. And then slide 6 illustrates the actual benchmarks that were chosen by the board. And it was a long discussion of how those were chosen, why they were chosen, like indicators, tax capacity, populations, service levels, who do we look like, and who kind of surrounds us. Then on the next slide is the market analysis. So this shows the jobs that were reviewed this year, where they are in comparison to the market. There are 2 slides to this. The left column is your job description, then it's your min, your max, the benchmark min, the benchmark max, and where it's positioned to the market. So we highlight anything in pink that's 10% or more under market, and anything that would be above would be in green. And as you look at it, you have a couple of positions that are falling behind the market average. Again, market average would be at 100%, means you're just sitting right in the middle of all your benchmarks. So there's gonna be some higher and definitely some lower. The next slide just shows the second page of those benchmark positions and where they are to the county. So on slide 9, the market analysis, the entire county, so when we looked at all of the jobs, you're about 2% of market average. So well within that market average. Textbook would say 5% is competitive. We're seeing, but for the jobs that were reviewed in 2024, they are between 6 and 7 markets. So some of those jobs are just falling a little bit behind, and it's very typical what we're seeing. The last time we did this is post-COVID. Some changes have occurred in jobs, just the market, again, the demands, and just some of the job and restructuring that you guys have all had.
Tessa, can you
Yep.
back up just 1 sec? You kind of cut out there. You were mentioning something about
sorry.
5%. We're at 2%.
Textbook would say that you're,
Okay.
yeah, you're at, overall, the county's at 2% of min and max of the average. So textbook would say if you're within 5%, you're highly competitive.
Okay.
Some entities are trying to be right at market, and some are trying to be a little bit above just to be competitive. But with the ones we looked at only this year, like the ones we were reviewing, they're about 6 to 7%. So some of those were starting to get a little bit less than we would like to see.
Thank you.
After
You're welcome.
if they get their next step, does it bring them into a better range? Or is that included in the 6 to 7%?
It is included, so when I look at it, I'm only looking at the min and the max. Actual pay or step I'm not looking at, because if your mins are low, you're gonna have a hard time bringing people in, and if your maxes are low, you're gonna have a hard time retaining. So step that movement or where people are we look at it, but in this case, when I say to market, I'm just looking at the min and the max. Any other questions? No? Then the next slide is just how jobs are evaluated, because that is a question that people always have. You know, I've been here a long time, some of that. So when I look at a job, I always say it's if I'm looking at if everyone won the lottery and we're hiring tomorrow. It's what's needed for the job in relation to qualifications and education. Decision-making, what decisions they're making, problem-solving, relationships, so who are they communicating to, what are they communicating, effort, both mental and physical, and then working conditions. And again, it's about the position and not the person. So when I was a city administrator, I had a doctorate degree, and I'm not gonna get paid for. I'm also a TIG welder, and I can weld, but you wouldn't put that in my job description, because it's just something I entity. So the next page is, one or two slides that has our recommendations for classification changes. These are based on the job descriptions, the review process, and the market. So the first one is patrol captain moving from a 14 to a 16. And some of these like kind of snowball because of where they are located. So like the patrol sergeant would move 11 to 12. The chief deputy sheriff from a 16 to an 18. Social services supervisor from a 13 to a 15. Jail program coordinator from an 8 to a 9. Human services director from a 20 to a 22. County administrator from a 22 to a 24. And then on the next page, or slide, sorry, county assessor from a 15 to a 17. Public safety lead from a 6 to a 7.
And just clarification,
Senior
that's
assistant-
public safety dispatcher.
Go ahead.
I was just mentioning, Tessa, that the
Oh,
public
I'm sorry.
safety lead
Sorry.
is the public
Thank
safety
you.
dispatcher.
Senior,
Lead, yes.
yep, thank you.
Yep.
Senior assistant county attorney from 18 to 19, assistant county attorney 1 from 14 to 15, assistant county attorney 2 from 16 to 17, HR specialist moving to a title of HR manager from 7 to 9, and the HR assistant to title of HR administrative specialist from a 3 to a 5. I know these look like a lot of changes. Typically, we don't see that many, but you haven't done this process for a couple of years, and the market has been changing in jobs, and especially with your county, you've been restructuring positions with people leaving and retirements and some of that. So it's not atypical to see changes. This many is probably a little bit more than we would generally see, but part of that is because we haven't looked at them in a while.
Tessa,
Questions with that?
Tessa, for clarification, I think some of these were handpicked because we knew that they were behind, correct?
Yeah, right, when I did it, I kind of randomly put some in there, but when I saw that some was falling, we put those in that first round, but it doesn't mean that every single job in the first round was under market, so.
Yep.
Those two do not correlate, but you are right, if I saw jobs that were falling, I said we should probably look at them sooner versus later.
And for the record, we wanted to make sure, the board wanted to make sure that we kept things in line so we're not losing people and having to retrain.
Exactly.
Questions from the board? Okay,
Keep going.
all right, we'll keep rolling.
Then the next slide, perfect, the next slide we talked about, for several conversations about career ladders, and with this round, the recommendations would be public health nurse to have a 1 and a 2, a deputy sheriff a 1 and a 2, case aide 1 and a 2, registered nurse 1 and a 2. There is a request for the community health specialist to have a 1 and a 2. It is not supported by the market, so meaning that when we look at other organizations, they do not have career ladders like that. There aren't a lot of people in that position, but I do mention it because it was requested, and it can be added to that list. The other ones I typically see in other organizations, the market supports it for recruitment and retention, so I just bring those up to the board as well.
Questions? All right.
None, all right. And then the next is just kind of the job classification and appeal, so employees can look at that and they can appeal it. Again, it has to be something's missing or warrants another review. I'll review it and then kind of communicate, and we'll bring any to the board for final approval. Any grade changes, note the next slide says any grade changes will be contingent upon the board approval. Also, implementations approved upon the board. if there are any negotiations of affected collective bargaining. So I just mentioned that, but that's kind of the next process. So what we did was we reviewed the job descriptions, we had input from employees, supervisors, we looked at the market, and then I looked at the classifications, and those are in front of the board today. And then I'm on the question slide.
Board? Okay. Do we have to take action on this one?
No, this
If I may address
Yep.
that and next steps. So as Tessa mentioned, so we'll send this information out to affected employees, and they have an opportunity to appeal the classifications and so on. In the meanwhile, I'll do cost estimates on implementing these changes. I will have then estimates for you when you have that final budget discussion sometime in September. And whenever, at some point, if you're comfortable with the recommendations and so on, then we would ask you then to formally approve the recommendations. I could see that happening second meeting in September, something like that, somewhere in there. And then we would need a letter of understanding with each affected collective bargaining unit to implement any of the changes. So that would be like, October, November, meeting with those groups, getting those LOUs for a January 1 effective date
Okay.
on these changes, right? So that's how it would.
Commissioner Pop?
the
Tessa,
calendar-
do you see any downside or where we approve some of this and the bargaining units come back and say the Me Too? I want,
No, because you're not opening up for that discussion.
Okay.
You're just saying that we're proposing these changes, and that's kind of it. I mean, a lot of the changes kind of are with the advancement of a career ladder, which I think is helpful for it. I mean, you always have the risk of other people saying me too, but in this case, when Monty will open it up, it's just for those affected when it's very clear we're not discussing other things or other positions. So it's just kind of showing that in good faith, we are adjusting these even though we don't have to.
so their chance probably would be to come back at the next bargaining session then, right?
Sure. Of course. Yeah,
I mean, they'll come back.
Yep,
right.
And we're also gonna take a look at another third
Another
next year.
third next year, right? This
Mr.
time
Chair, that
next
was gonna
year.
be my,
exactly.
that was gonna be
Yep.
my question. Are we gonna wait until June next year again, or what are you thinking timeline to start the next process?
When did we actually get started this time, Tessa? When did we actually start kicking out those position questionnaires? I don't recall exactly. Was it
Yeah, we got
May?
started,
I thought it was April.
I think in like May-ish.
May-ish? Yeah. We could probably start a little earlier. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
second comment, Tessa, could you please forward that presentation on to us?
I have it.
You have it? Okay.
I got it. I'll make copies.
Sure.
I'll make copies.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep.
Thanks,
Yep.
Anna.
Perfect.
I will make copies. So again, is everyone clear on the kind of calendar and the schedule? We're good there? Okay, yep. Again, I'll have cost estimates for you when you have that final budget discussion in September, so.
Great.
Okay, we're good for now?
Yep.
Thank you,
Thank-
Tessa.
Thank you,
Thanks, Tessa.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tessa, see ya.
Thank you. Have a good one. Take care. Thank you, everyone.
Yep. All right. Well, I'd like to move on to a really great agenda item. This is a feel-good one for sure. Appointment of a Human Services Director. So the selection committee, with the assistance of Dave Drown Associates, interviewed some finalists for the position of Human Service Director just recently. The selection committee would like to recommend to you all the appointment of Joy Johnson Lind as our next Human Service Director. If I may just cover a few things that are in the agenda item. She served as a Senior Director of Child and Family Services for Children's Hospitals and Clinics of Minnesota for 10 years. Previously a Director of Child and Family Services, Social Work Leader, Clinical Social Worker, also for Children's Hospitals and Clinics. She has a bachelor's degree in Psychology and Social Welfare from the University of Wisconsin and a master's degree in Social Work from the University of Minnesota. And I just want to say, I think the selection committee consisted of Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Heinen, Stearns County Human Services Administrator Melissa Huberty, and myself. I think we were extremely impressed with Joy, extremely articulate, great experience, a lot of energy, a lot of ideas, I think, which will serve us quite well. So, Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Heinen, would you like to add anything, if you would?
It was another good process, second time around for this process, but we finally got somebody we feel that will benefit our county.
Ditto, it was a great experience.
Yeah.
I think she was a standout right away. We were 2 questions in, and I think it was a good standout, so
That's
looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I just also wanted to make sure is make sure we acknowledge Melissa Huberty's contributions. You know, she devoted quite a bit of time to this interview process, to reviewing applications, and Melissa had a lot of great feedback and input for us. She brought that perspective as a director into the process, which is extremely useful to us. So I want to make sure and I've already, of course, thanked her and copied Mike Williams, but I'll make sure we publicly thank her for her contribution to this process.
Thank you.
Joy's planned first day is Tuesday, September 3rd, right after Labor Day. So with that, Mr. Chair, if you all could by motion make this appointment.
I'll make the motion to appoint Joy Johnson Lund as our deputy Benton County Human Service Director as of Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other questions on this? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Next, Mr. Chair, is Amanda asked me to bring this to you all. She could not be here today, I believe. There's a little bit of the backstory. So apparently the state of Minnesota has made grant resources available to counties that are losing power plants. I believe this is initially directed towards Sherburne County with the Sherco closure. But any county that has experienced the closure of an energy generation facility can be eligible. Well, we discovered that there was a small, I believe it was a gas-fired power plant off Highway 10 in that Benton Drive area. I frankly didn't know it existed. And the folks at the state approached Amanda and said, hey, you had one of these facilities, you could be eligible for this energy transition funding. So Amanda has pursued this and working with Highway, and she's applying for a grant of $1 million, and it would be used to cover the cost of the utility pole relocation at the Kasha 29 roundabout location. So that's the purpose of the grant application. She's got the application mostly complete. She is rounding up letters of support from all over, and I believe this, I don't know exactly sure when the application deadline is, but it's coming up pretty soon.
Very quick.
Yes, so she asks you to approve the application and then authorize the board chair to sign the resolution of support for the application. As I've gone through this, I do not see like a local match requirement per se. I mean, obviously there's going to be lots of other county costs associated with this roundabout, but this would be a grant then to cover their utility relocation.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I sound a little bit like a broken record. I know we're constantly giving kudos to BEP, but this is a great example of our partnership with BEP.
Absolutely,
and especially Amanda and her extra work and effort to get grant dollars. This will be huge towards this project if we can get this. So, again, thank you to her and BEP.
Yes, we can't say enough about what they do. They step up in a lot of different ways to bring money to the county that they generally don't. I mean, it's not in their, we'll call it job duties.
Right.
And I hope everybody in the county sees that, as well as the organizations that pay into the BEP, because it is definitely helping the county. People don't see it all the time on the levy dollars, but this, if we would get this grant, that's $1 million that we wouldn't be covering off of levy dollars.
Exactly.
Or a half-cent sales tax.
Or a half-cent sales tax, yes.
You
Because
know,
it has to be done.
It has to be done, yeah.
well, it's gonna get done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're gonna lose federal money, so
Yeah.
it's gotta get done. I guess what I want to say is that I believe she approached us about this grant. We didn't approach her.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true, right? Yeah.
She found
right.
it on her own, and I don't know
Correct.
how. Right.
Yeah, so
Absolutely true, right?
it's another good way of how BEP is working with the county.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna move to approve the application of the Energy Transition Grant funding and authorize the board chair to sign the resolution.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other dialogue on this? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks again, BEP and Amanda. And Pam. So,
Yeah.
all right,
We're good.
Yeah, don't forget Pam.
we're moving on to Sandy.
Yes, so the next two agenda items kind of mixed together. We have representatives from Vivo here to talk about the services they provide to us. They are suggesting a change in our contract for MFIP, SNAP, and DWP. It is the same cap as always, so the same amount of money, grant money, going directly to them to serve our clients. The only thing that's changing would be an hourly rate due to some of the changes they've made and how they provide services. And they're here to discuss that with you. So I'll let them introduce themselves.
Okay,
Thank you.
good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for letting us be added to your agenda this morning. My name is Julie Kislick, and I am the Director of Avivo's Family and Employment Services. With me today is Becca Lopez, the Vice President of our Career Education and Employment Services Programs, and Patrick Shepard, who is the Program Manager for Benton County's MFIB, DWP, and SNAP services that are being operated by Avivo. As Sandy said, and as what's on the agenda, we are here to formally request a rate increase to our current contract. And we are making this request because it will allow us to continue to support the recently implemented initiatives which we feel are enhancing the services to the families of Benton County. Oh, excuse me. We're really excited about these changes, and they've already had such a positive impact on the services and the support to the families who are receiving them. As noted by Sandy, this increase is not going to impact our cap at all. The first of these initiatives that we did was we restructured our program staffing. And this included the addition of a supervisor and an experienced senior counselor, allowing the programs to provide stronger oversight and technical assistance directly to the frontline staff who are engaging with the families. This also, in turn, has better equipped us to address the new and unique language needs that are emerging across all of central Minnesota. The second thing that we did earlier this year was we added another service location in Malacca, which is just 15 minutes from this building. And what this did was allowed flexibility and convenience to all Benton County residents and families seeking our services. This location is staffed daily by the supervisor and under the supervision of the new supervisor overseeing Benton's family and employment service programs. And it just adds the flexibility to the families, especially in rural areas where transportation can be sometimes an issue and road construction as well. The third was the agency's implementation of a reduced work week. And this was in design to assist our staff in balancing work and family. This increases the job retention of our staff, and because of this retention, the continuity and stability of the staff ensures that there are no service interruptions for the families enrolled in our programs. To speak more to this, I'm going to have Becca Lopez step up here. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting us to be here today. And thank you, Julie. This is a really exciting topic for me. The reduced work week model can sound very scary and very exciting at the same time, and Avivo is really, really excited to implement this. And I brought notes, so I will stay on track because I get excited and I'll talk a lot about it. We, like many other organizations, we really struggled during the pandemic, but also coming out of the pandemic with both recruitment and retention. I think we thought that the pandemic would subside and all of those things that were happening would just go away. But we found that that wasn't the case. And in particular, staff retention was a concern because we know, and some of this will repeat what Julie already said, we know that when we lose staff, our outcomes in our community is in jeopardy. Every time a participant has to retell their story, relive trauma, and build trust with somebody new, we run the risk of them leaving our program. The other piece is that MFIP, diversionary work, SNAP, they're very complex programs. They take a long time to learn, and they take a long time to execute with perfection. Every time we have turnover, we are starting back over again and taking more time away from the people that we serve. So we knew if we could impact retention, we would have better customer service, we would have improved outcomes in our community. And what we realized is what we were doing, it just wasn't working. So if you think throughout the pandemic, we saw hiring bonuses, we saw retention bonuses, increased flexibility, and none of that stuck with our team. What we heard was a resounding need for work-life balance. And not just now, and not just can I come in later and stay later. People were saying, I need balance in order to be here. And so we dug into a reduced work week. And we did a lot of research, team. We spent the better part of 6 months looking at global research, talking to organizations locally, and really trying to understand how this model works. And what we found is it's not just about having less hours in the week. Yes, we're reducing 40 hours to 32. We're not reducing pay, and we're expecting the same level of productivity. It's about being more efficient. It's about removing redundancy. So we did the research. We dug in. We found that in almost every case, it increased productivity, it reduced burnout, it improved mental health, and it led to feelings of higher job satisfaction. Impressive, right? Let's try this. So we did a pilot. In 2023, we launched a pilot with a handful of programs that lasted 9 months to almost a year. We really wanted to make sure that this would work. This is a big change for our organization. We're about 350 employees. This was not something that we took very lightly. So what we did is we grabbed a handful of programs and we said, here's a couple of caveats. Impact to participants, no negative impact. No disruption in the number of hours and the level of service we provide. That means we can't close on Monday. We can't just shut down our doors. We can't say we're not here on Wednesday afternoons. We monitored caseload sizes, documentation, frequency of interaction, and program outcomes, and we found no noteworthy reductions, and oftentimes outcomes increased. Very exciting. Staff, I had the privilege of interviewing staff in the pilot. Overwhelming agreement with the global results. Less burnout, higher job satisfaction, and feeling like they could show up better for the people that we served. So, given the success, we decided to make this not a pilot, but a way of doing business for our organization. So we have decided to roll out a reduced work week across our entire organization. We are, help me out, team, about half of our programs on board right now. Everyone goes through a vetting process. They submit a robust plan, leadership approves it, a task force approves it, and then they're able to submit and start the reduced work week. We are very excited about this. We have this tagline at Avivo, live well, work well, and we believe that it doesn't just apply to the people we serve, but we really need to make sure that it applies to the people that work for us as well. So I would open the floor to questions if anybody has any.
Just a clarification.
Yeah.
It looks like we got a max not to exceed of $350,645, and the only thing that changed in there was the dollar amount per hour of 41 going to 41.62. What was that dollar amount?
Julie?
38.
38.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Questions?
Well, I just have a comment that I think it's great that we're getting better success in that, but I see it, we're going from 40 hours down to 32, and that's a domino effect that'll come through the workforce, maybe nationwide or statewide.
Yeah.
I don't agree to that. I think in this process, we work harder, work longer to achieve success, and this is telling us to get more pay for working less hours. And I just don't think that that's a route that we should be going in government. It'll have a domino effect someplace down the line.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely gaining momentum, and I hear what you're saying. I think what we are looking at is increasing efficiency, reducing that redundancy, helping people find faster and more streamlined ways to do the work. If I were to ask the teams that I have doing it right now, they would say, we're working just as hard, we're working differently. Thank you for that.
Questions?
When we get to the next one, I've got questions.
All right.
Any
We
other
can
questions
continue
for
on.
me?
No.
All right.
So they're asking, are you asking for the next item, meaning approving the amendment to the contract?
I can ask, Mr. Chair, I can ask you right now. So how long have we been in contract with this, with Avivo? Sandy? Or members of Avivo?
11 years.
11 years, right. So the question I have is, do other counties do it hourly, or do they just do it by a contract per
I
year?
believe they do it by a contract, so they do the amount like you, as you and
set
I
amount.
discussed. Yep, they do a set amount. We do an hourly rate as suggested by the county attorney's office, so that's my understanding of why we're making changes, but the other counties involved in this do not need to make changes.
So we're realistically the only county that does an hourly rate versus the other counties that work with you, it's just a set price.
That is correct. And
Why,
But
why
don't
is
we-
that?
why-
Yeah.
Yeah, so at this point in time, it doesn't matter to me if it's just a set price and how you guys do your business.
Right. Mr. Chair, if I may, how many other counties are you working with?
8.
Okay, Mr. I got another
Thank
question.
you.
Mr.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
We work with 8 counties. We work across the metro and then all through central Minnesota.
Commissioner Pop?
So you mentioned you have an office in Mille Lacs County. Do you work with Mille Lacs County?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so that makes it
That
more
makes-
efficient, I would think.
Yeah.
Very much so, and
Okay.
much more
What-
convenient.
Okay, we got the hourly rate, we understand that would go to 41.62. What would our contract rate be if we didn't go the hourly? Do you guys,
It would be the same.
okay,
The contract's
Yeah,
the same.
Well, basically, you're getting down to, excuse me, Commissioner, but you're getting down to that instead of working 40 hours a week, they're working 32 hours a week and getting the same pay, is what it basically boils down to.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
why don't we
but that's
just?
not up to us.
Well, I was gonna
Well,
say,
That is not up to us. We contract to them.
Yeah,
and
I
We're
agree,
giving
but-
them only X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
If they're serving the clients
right.
as best as they can, and the services doesn't change with the
That is
clients,
correct.
to me, it doesn't matter. I'm just questioning why we're even doing an hourly rate, because
That's-
they shouldn't even be coming in front of us with an
Well-
hourly rate.
How do we change that?
The hourly rate is suggested by the county attorney's office is somewhat of an accountable thing, so that people aren't just getting, working 1 hour and getting $300,000. So it's accountability is, I guess, why it is. So almost all of our contracts in human services are hourly for exactly that reason. That's been encouraged by the county attorney's office. I will note that maybe, Patrick, I'm putting you on the spot, but some of the things that they are doing are new and improved that aren't just about the hourly thing. So Patrick, can you explain that one?
It's the technology
item
they're
that-
using now.
I just want to give you an example of what they're doing differently. I hear you, Commissioner Pop, I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
he does have a pretty good example of some of the things they're doing differently.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm Patrick Shepard. I'm the program manager. I oversee the 5 counties in central Minnesota. And the availability to the client doesn't change. We're still available to the client 40 hours a week. We're just shifting the workloads so staff can work 32 hours. One of the things we've done is tried to increase efficiency, as Becca mentioned. And one of the things that we're mandated on doing is an orientation session to all new clients. So what happens is clients come to Benton County and apply for assistance. Once they're approved, the referral comes to Avivo, and we provide the case management to those clients. The state has a very prescribed orientation that we need to do. My orientation person is given the same speech as she's mandated to do by the state of Minnesota. The same speech 4 times a week, every week, for 11 years. When COVID hit, we kind of put our brains together and said, why don't we videotape this thing? It's the same speech. So we videotaped it. And then we thought, what could we put it on like a YouTube channel or something, and clients could then go sign in, watch the video, which is the same speech she's given for 11 years. So we did that. And right now, almost 90% of our clients engage with us by watching that orientation video online. The other thing we did was that orientation was at prescribed times, 9 a.m. on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That doesn't always work for folks. The majority of our viewership on that video is actually Sunday night about 8:30, 9 o'clock. When you put your kids to bed and you can kind of take a breath and say, okay, what do I have to do now, right? Childcare is an issue. MFib families have kids, and to pile up your kids in a car, run them to St. Cloud or Malacca, and then have them sit through a 30-minute boring video, that's not very helpful either. So we have taken that and shifted that by doing the video once, posting it online, having a really slick system for clients to engage in that. We've moved that administrative task and shifted it to now we can focus more on case management. And, you know, we can tell you how many hours we save a month by doing that. But again, it's efficiencies like that that allow us to do 32 hours a week and serve our clients at 100%.
So I had the same reaction you did, Commissioner Hop, about this pop initially. But those kind of innovations are good. And then the bottom line is we spend the same amount of money to serve the same amount of clients, no matter how they do that. So that's how I became won over on this. So just sharing that with you.
Mr. Chair, so I have one other comment is that prior to us going with our broadband and that a lot of our clients probably didn't have the ability to go online.
That's correct.
So what do you do in that case?
We just figured that out today. Actually, this morning, I literally figured this out this morning. Is Walmart sells a $80 Wi-Fi, and then I can go online and purchase monthly subscriptions to it, and then we send that code to the client, and then so we provide. We base it. We start about 3 months. But that can be extended. So we can provide Wi-Fi to our clients so they can engage not only us, but the school districts. Mental health appointments now are online. So yeah, without that online, you can't even apply for work without being online now. You know, I mean, you don't go to a place and fill out an application. I remember that. It's all online. So getting clients online is huge. And yeah, we support that with the dollars that we get. And again, we just figured out how to coordinate that, and it seems to be working. So,
Mr. Chair, if I could, to me, the bigger picture, and I understand both Commissioner Pop's point and Commissioner Heinen's, we have a contract in place that talks about total dollars for direct program services, client readiness, administration. There's a total dollar amount there. And I would imagine between Janelle and Sandy, that's being monitored. And when the bills come in, you're verifying that that was actually done, correct? So we have a maximum amount. The time to look at that total thing is when it's up.
Right, we're not asking to change the maximum amount.
Right, it's just the hourly, and I get that, but we're getting into the weeds on the hourly.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Commissioner, but we're getting into the weeds of their management.
That's
right.
Basically,
That's not our
but yet
business.
It's not our business, but yet it is.
But it's not changing the total dollar amount, what we're
No.
gonna pay out.
No.
I'm gonna piggyback on that. I did the little math here. We just lost 750 hours, we'll call it, by moving this up, but our pricing doesn't change. So let's just say 10 months into the contract when you're out, cause right now you're about 9,150 hours. We went down to 8,400 hours. So what happens in, you know, nothing changes, but in month 11, when we're out of hours, what happens?
We ensure that that does not happen.
Right, that's up to
So
them.
then, so there, we shouldn't even have an hourly,
That's exactly.
yeah, that's where I was
Exactly.
going with
That's-
that. We shouldn't have an hourly cap. Or 41 whatever per hour, so.
We should just enter in the contract for the exact set amount, dollar amount. For
Correct.
the year.
I would like to see that
But you
change.
guys choose to run it.
Thank you.
I think I mean, from my standpoint, we could approve it today on this.
Yes.
But I think moving forward, we need to go to the trust, we'll call it, that our staff is doing and following up on everything and going to a contract.
I would agree, because I would hope staff would, at the next round of contract, would come back and say, you know, I think we're 50 grand high here or something.
Yeah.
Based on services. Then we'll have that discussion. You guys will have those internal discussions and present the next contract if it seems to be the correct amount, right? That's what you do.
Cause if I were you guys, I'd be keeping track of all your hours to show that that 350 is adequate and it's not 375. So, all right. What would the board like to do?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other, questions on this matter? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Excuse me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm just confused. All right, we'll continue.
All right.
Sandy.
Our next agenda item is considering a state of Minnesota DHS complex transitions contract, and Will Chu is here to address that issue.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm here on behalf of Adam Martins. He was unable to be here, so this is for an individual that he serves in his unit. This individual has been in the hospital, living in the hospital since 2021. Technically, I know he put 2022 on his form here. They had a short stint in the community that wasn't prepared properly for them, returned back to the hospital, and has been shipped from hospital to hospital since then. So he had approached the board a few months back for a request of $5,000 through the same fund, the complex transition contract. He is again asking for money. This time, though, he's asking for a total cost of $120,000. What this will do is this will allow for the remodel of the home. We do have a provider that's willing to take this individual. There are no other providers in the state of Minnesota that were willing to take this individual, which is why they still reside in the hospital. They're on outpatient status, so they don't really belong there, but due to physical restrictions, they are still there. So we do have a provider that's willing to take them. Some home modifications need to be done, as well as a bed hold. So to date, so far, Essentia Health, where this individual is residing, has paid around $62,000 so far to the company for a bed hold. The reason for the bed hold is that this company is losing money every day that they leave this bed open that they could have filled with somebody else. They're holding it for this specific individual. Through this contract, it does require the county to put the money up front, but then will be reimbursed. With the $5,000 that was asked earlier, that was reimbursed within 2 weeks back to the county. I'm hoping that that'll be a similar turnaround for this time. We do not have the contract yet. It's a little unusual on how this came to board, but it's in the urgency of trying to ensure that this individual can actually get out into the community to reside in a community setting. And so the county attorney has requested that as soon as the contract comes in, Michelle will take a look at it. It's going to be similar to the one that the board approved, again, for the $5,000 earlier, and then I'll go through the proper steps. So no money would be looked to be dispersed until the contract is fully reviewed and approved. But essentially that is what we're asking the board to do. It's contingent upon review, is to approve the $120,000 for this individual.
And you're saying that money would come back to the county anyway?
Correct. Correct. So the state does it kind of strange. It would be nice if the state just paid out the money directly to the contractors. Due to the state and federal money that's involved with it, their accountabilities are that they require the county to put the money up front and then reimburse through this contract.
Mr. Chair, so Will, how does this work? Lord forbid this doesn't work out for this individual, and the taxpayers of the state or the county have put forth $120,000 to remodel somebody's house.
So the design of this, so that's kind of where this plan has been. So this plan has been in the works for the last year or so. I'm trying to identify exactly what this individual needs. The last time it was attempted, this complex transition fund didn't exist. And so the problem with the waiver is the individual can't access the waiver until they're in the community. So because this individual is in the hospital, there's no dollars attached to it, which is why the creation of the complex transition contract was created. So the idea is that this will have the lift that this individual needs, this will have the space, this will have the door width, the entry door, the access pathway, the flooring, because this flooring is going to need to be enhanced further to endure the weight of the individual, as well as the bed and other devices that are there, and then some privacy wall for living space. So it's really going to be made directly for this individual to what the functional assessment was saying they needed.
So, go ahead.
Is there still I mean, don't hear my heart. I'm not saying this shouldn't happen. I'm just wondering if this does not work for this individual, what happens?
This individual then would go back to the hospital, yes. That would be the only other place that's able to care for this individual. It is no placement's guaranteed. at this point. But the provider has met this individual. This provider has understood the complications and the demands of this individual as far as what their needs are, and they feel that they can meet them and they can meet them successfully. This individual is also excited to move into this facility, which I think is a perk compared to the last time. Last time it was just kind of, here you go, this is where we're going to put you,
Sure.
and it didn't work out because it wasn't set up for the individual.
Okay, thank you.
But
Go
The
ahead.
bottom line is, it remains with the house. I mean, that's, the
Yep.
changes are there,
Yep.
they're with the house.
Yep.
It is a foster home, however, so another individual might use it, but it is being designed very specially for this person. It's not gonna hurt the next person that moves in, but it's designed for the special needs of this person.
Commissioner Pop.
Thank you.
so if this individual gets to the house and it doesn't work out and he doesn't want to stay there anymore, basically that money stays with the house. I mean, there's no guarantees it's going to work out. I mean, not
Well, so
100%.
Correct. So once this individual moves to the county or moves into the home and into the community, then the waiver takes over, and that's all federal dollars that is set aside for people with their special needs. This money here is to be able to make it accessible and attainable for the individual to move into the home, and this is the reimbursable part. So again, the county, there is no fiscal impact at the end of the result. Once we get reimbursed, that's the upfront money that would be the fiscal impact to it.
So will we get reimbursed once he moves into the house?
No, we get reimbursed as soon as we put the money up. We pay the contractor. Then that's part of this contract that's coming in. The contract will spell it out as well. With reimbursement, like I said last time, for the $5,000 was reimbursed back into our coffers within 2 weeks. So it'd be a pretty quick turnaround as well.
So I got a question. Where's this contract come from?
The state of Minnesota.
So why do we have to have our attorney look at, I mean, what are they gonna change if it's coming from the state of Minnesota?
I guess it's just a process to look at liability to make sure that everything is on the up and up. And it should be, like you said, it should be a pretty quick turnaround. Michelle is aware of this and the urgency as well, to make a quick turnaround on it, so.
Okay.
I understand, Commissioner Kapinski, what you're saying. With all state contracts, we can't change
No. We're not
wording
redlining a state
or
contract.
anything, right?
I think the only reason from my perspective the main reason from my perspective it's good to go through the county attorney's office is looking at it from her perspective legally, are we gonna get the money back?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
that's the bottom line, like, that's what I'm worried about.
I
Is
get
there
that.
anything in here that I'm missing as a layperson that would indicate that we would not recommend this contract be entered into? But is there a risk to the county fiscally somewhere in here? And that's what I count on the county attorney's office to tell me, that this is a good deal for us. This is not a risky adventure.
I get that.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to move for approval of the complex transitions contract contingent upon review of the Benton County Attorney's Office.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other questions on this matter? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Sandy.
you.
Thank you for all your work too, Sandy.
Hopefully this works for this gentleman.
Government giveaway.
Okay. We're gonna move on to Christine.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I bring before you the joint powers agreement with the Secretary of State regarding the primary election recount, should there be one. Each election, we have to enter into this joint powers agreement in the event of a recount. Michelle has reviewed it and she just asked that I bring it forward to you to get a motion to ratify.
Motion to approve, Mr.
Second.
Chair.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other questions on this?
No.
If not, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks,
you.
Christine.
Yep, thank you.
Kristen's hoping that hers goes through that.
Kristen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that and thought, do you want to take a break? You need a 5-minute breather?
Vanna. It's Vanna.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
I mean, this is supposed to be a consent item, and I accidentally put it on record.
Nope.
It's no problem. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I have the following 2 items. The first one is going to be hopefully awarding a contract with Paramount Planning. They are a Minnesota-based company that specializes in planning and preparedness for all hazards. The intention with that would be to utilize RSG funding, Readiness Sustainability Grant, that Public Health received. And this was included in their preliminary budget for RSG last year. That company would come in, do 5 tabletop exercises for all counties, all departments in Benton County, focusing on continuity of operations planning. And again, that's more long-term planning for us if we had a disruption of services in some capacity for 30 days or more, whether that is staff shortage, facility loss, et cetera. What does that look like for the county? And then they would also provide one after-action report. So my request would be that we approve and award a contract with them for $12,000 to do those exercises for us.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Christine, does that mean the commissioners have to go through this too?
You are more than welcome to attend all of them. No, I would leave that up to Monty, but
It's strongly recommended.
I definitely could see some advantage from the administrative side of things, especially as we talk about orders of succession and delegation of authority and what that looks like, and COOP begins to address some of those questions where redundant positions don't exist.
So does that, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, so with the 5 tabletop exercises, are they all different exercises then, all 5?
Nope, they would be based on the same scenario.
Okay.
Yep,
You just have to go to one.
Okay, so we just have to go to 1 then out of the 5.
Yeah, I would
Okay.
recommend that you pair with. So I've grouped departments by like functionality, and my recommendation would probably be to join on with the one that administration is going to participate in.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
I think I did that twice since I've been on. With our old director, we had like a chain of command or whatever. So,
Do you have dates for us at this point?
No,
yet.
we do not have dates set yet. So this will probably occur over my best guess is the course of a year and a half, as we finalize our current COOP rewrite and then meet with the vendor and public health to get some of that timeline plotted out.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item.
Thank you. The next item is a proposition to request the transfer of a vehicle from the sheriff's office to the emergency management department. It is a vehicle that is 2017 and is coming out of service for them. So with a few modifications, that vehicle could be transferred over to emergency management and used for day-to-day use. My apologies if you reviewed your packet. It's at in October of 2024. Knock on wood. It's not October of 2024. In October of 2023, when the Glendorado officer-involved shooting happened, things went as well as they could, but there was some logistical issues. And as a position that is predominantly on call 24/7 with the expectation of carting around equipment and potentially picking up trailers going out during the day or at night, it would be my request that we shift that vehicle to emergency management and do, like I said, a few modifications, reprogram a radio, put decals on per state statute, and then transition that over.
Mr. Chair, a couple questions, Kristen. Do you have a guesstimate on dollar amount to redo the vehicle?
Yep, so to redo it, the decaling would be $270. And then reprogram a radio that emergency management already has is about $50. So that's just to transfer it over. Emergency management does have just over $500 too in funds that had been donated to the department quite some time ago before I was here. My intention would be to utilize that money.
I believe it's an unmarked Ford Explorer, so
It is.
fewer modifications are required if
Yep.
it instead been a squad.
Sure.
Yep.
Less things to do there. Yeah.
And then just for clarification, is this a vehicle that you would come here to Benton County and pick up and use when you need it? Or is this a vehicle that's gonna be with you 24/7?
24/7 is the intention.
Okay.
Yep. Kristen, we've talked about this, and look at what just happened over the weekend with the storms and everything like that. We're able to mobilize her directly from her resident instead of coming back here and everything. It's really not gonna cost the county a ton, so I guess I'm in favor of it.
Is that a motion, Mr. Chair?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that then.
Any other communication? Ed?
Yeah, I think it's fine that we do this. I just don't know if it should be 24/7. I think it should be based somewheres in the county instead of you know, I don't know. That just seems to be.
You know, Kristen lives a little ways away, so I look at it from a standpoint, it's easy, for her to mobilize on a scene wherever she's at, so.
Mr. Chair, Kristen, are you in the office daily?
I'm not. I'm probably in 2 to 3 days a week, depending on the week. Also, that largely depends on my meeting schedule. I would say most of my meetings are if I'm out and about. Alec is a very common area. The Metro is a very common area to meet. So often, if I'm not in the office, I'm out at meetings.
Sure.
Mr. Chair. So right now, are we paying you mileage for your car?
Yep.
Okay.
So, and again, for
That would change.
clarification, then
Yep.
to the meeting, you'd take this vehicle to meetings?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep.
So then we wouldn't have to pay mileage
Correct.
anymore.
Yep.
Mileage
Yeah,
would go
that
away.
would go away completely.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I guess I'd like to monitor it for a year, to see, you know, what the cost is to do this, between maintenance, fuel, everything else.
Okay.
See what it costs us per mile.
Okay. All right. I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries.
Thank
you,
you.
Kristen.
Thank you.
Roxanne.
All right, good morning, Commissioners. Mr.
Morning.
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 Good morning.
Before you, I have an agreement with Bogart Peterson and Associates to administer the Wetland Conservation Act rules and statutes. As you may know, Sierra Cotter, our former wetland program lead, has resigned. She's taken a new position, and she actually has taken a position with Bogart Peterson as one of their wetland delineators. And so Bogart Peterson has offered to provide us with those services until we have the position filled for $110 per hour. I did reach out to SEH to find out what they could provide that for. It's $165 an hour. I would say that's pretty standard. SEH does wetland delineation for a number of local communities, so they're a fairly reputable company that provides these services. So Bogart Peterson assuming this gets signed, they have set up an email where I would send, it's just a joint email between Craig Wensman, another wetland delineator, and Sierra Cotter, who would take in all of the applications that we receive and questions and inquiries on wetland items. And they would administer the WACA rules and regulations for us on our behalf. Right now, we have no staff in office that are trained or knowledgeable in the wetland rules. So it's imperative that we do contract with another firm for these services until the position's filled.
Mr. Chair, just for clarification, Roxanne, so if I heard you correctly, there's an email set up between Craig, another wetland delineator, and Sierra because she's there?
Yes.
And is that designed because she's involved in what's currently going on, obviously?
Yes, she has that knowledge base and background to know exactly what's going on with all of the projects that are currently in place, the violations, the projects, applications that we have. So she likely will be a part of that, especially with her knowledge base on how these projects generally proceed through the county.
Roxanne, did she, I'm from what I've been told is she didn't really have a lot of wetland delineation training before she came here, is that correct?
Correct.
So you look at that and go, I'm a little concerned maybe that she is on some of this because of, the lack of training on the background of that.
I would beg to differ on that. She had a number of months of training with Mark McNamara, who had been in that position for oh gosh, a decade or more. So she had that behind her. She did go through, she was certified through the Board of Water and Soil Resources for wetland delineation. And in all of my conversations with all of the consultants that we work with, and people who do not have violations, they have been extremely complimentary of her services and her ability to work with those individuals to help them through different situations. But I have had high remarks from a number of consulting firms, which is probably why that's where she is now.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, so Roxanne, this firm will be overseeing what Sierra does too, though. So it'll be second eyes on it.
Yes.
Any other questions?
The other,
Commissioner Johnson?
I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw another question so you can keep thinking there, Commissioner Johnson. So I also, it notes that the county requests 1.5 mil cyber liability and the consultant is only providing 1 mil.
Yes. And that was, we presented that to Michelle. It's a standard language that we request of consultants. They were able to provide 1 million.
Mr. We've heard this insurance issue many
Many
times
times.
over the
Yes, we
years.
did.
And the way I understand it is typically this insurance is sold in $1 million increments.
Correct. Yep.
And, oh gosh, about 12, 15 years ago, the state increased the tort limits by $500,000. And apparently it's really expensive to buy a full extra $1 million. So we've heard this many, many times. If I've not wanted to go with the full 1.5 or 2 million. Yeah, it's a very common issue.
Cybersecurity insurance in general is very expensive.
Well, that's a new one that MCIT is recommending. It's not required. MCIT recommends that contractors carry this so-called cybersecurity. I think in those cases, you really have to ask yourself would we even be providing a vendor access to our systems, or would we provide them with private data? I would imagine in this instance the answer would be no. So I don't know necessarily that you need the cyber with every contract. It just depends.
Some background on my comments earlier is when we sit in these ditch meetings and everything, Sierra hasn't said anything, and it's always been other people talking. And to me, that should have been working for the county and producing something for us to understand where we're sitting on some of these. Because I don't know the first thing about ditches and wetland delineation and everything like that. So that's I was just substantiating my comments earlier. Anybody else got anything?
Well, I think there's a lot of counties that don't have in-county wetland people. They farm this out. Maybe that's something that we.
I can tell you that Sherburne and Stearns have in-house. I believe Mille Lacs has in-house. Morrison does not, and I don't know that that's going extremely well.
Okay. I think.
Mr. Chair, thank you, Commissioner Pop, because that was my question, and I just didn't want to.
Well, and I think, we're a small
viable-
county when it comes to ditches compared to some counties, and I think some of the counties that have large, 130, 40 ditches, that is all done outside of the county staff. Some have a specialized employee that takes care of that,
Of
but they
ditches?
still do their legal stuff outside of the county.
Wish we had-
Because it could be billed right to
Yeah,
the ditches.
right,
Correct.
yeah.
Mr. Chair, I think it brings up kind of two questions. We've got a contract here in front of us, if I'm reading it right, that's basically from today through December 6th. So it's somewhat of a temporary contract because we have to have something in place. I don't think anybody disagrees with that.
Yep.
And then the other things I'm hearing is maybe that's what fires off a discussion at some point with Roxanne about, if it's through the committee of the whole, or what's our long-term plan here? Because is it going to be to continue the contract? Is it going to be to fill the position? I'm not sitting here with an answer for that, but it sounds like that's some stuff we need to talk through. Because this position is also taking care of solid waste. So what does that mean? I don't know.
So I think there was some frustration on people's, on both ends, Sierra's and the boards when she maybe resigned and stuff like that. I'm a little concerned on her being overseeing or being a part of some of these things when it could have been some of the frustration coming from board members on some of the issues that were happening under her control.
I can assure you that Sierra has the training that's necessary. She is, or that position rather, it must follow state statute. They do not alone have the ability to make decisions.
Yeah.
And so it's a group effort. And I can tell you that there have been many, many occasions where this position has fought for the applicant, the property owner, when in turn the remaining members of the TEP do not agree with that. And so the ultimate decision and enforcement action has to come from the county. But it's not necessarily that we agree with it, but that's the role we have to play.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I understand what we're all going through, but at the end of the day, we still have to have this contract in place. I will approve the agreement with Borgert Peterson and Associates Incorporated for temporary administration of the WCA and authorize the chair to sign the agreement. That's my motion.
Okay. We have a second.
Second?
Any other communication?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to highlight that this is a short-term contract, and I think we need to have a discussion about what we're going to do going forward, and that needs to include Roxanne and what our plans are going to be here on this position and what we're going to do contractually. I don't know that we have the answer to that today, so I think we have to get together and talk through what our options are. And again, I'm going to highlight it's temporary. I'm going to be very honest, I have mixed feelings about it too. I understand the need. In this case, Sierra has all the background, and she's going to help Bogart Peterson with that. I just don't know that that's going to be a long-term answer for us.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I agree, but short-term, we have to do something, and this is our best option.
I agree. I'm gonna support it because it is short-term. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, as you noted, it terminates December 6, 2024. I just wanted to add to it, I guess if the board is thinking about possibly contracting out this long-term, you might want to actually talk to some other firms and actually bring folks in and interview them and get a sense of what they're all about, their qualifications and so on. I know I was thinking the WSB has been doing a lot of the work with us out on parks, so they may be another firm you could talk to. But again, I think you probably would want to interview a few firms.
Mr. Chair,
yeah.
I'm going to consider on the motion in the second that we include an upcoming cow and that Roxanne's able to put some of that information together for us and have a discussion with her as a lead because we're missing information.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not sitting here saying we should or should not have that position or we should or should not contract. I don't know.
Because that's not our only position either.
No, right.
With solid waste
We
too.
need that good information from Roxanne
Yep.
so that
Right.
we can all make a decision together. And it's probably going to have to be through a committee of the whole.
Yep.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, and I agree, Commissioner Johnson, but that doesn't have to be in this motion. That just has to be between us.
And I understand. I just want to make sure at the end
Yep.
of the meeting, we don't forget to establish a
Yep.
committee of the whole based on this discussion.
No, I agree.
So, okay.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Roxanne.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back, Chris.
Thank you. Oh, good morning, commissioners. I always like to have things in front of me. I like to show numbers. So, finally, I say that tongue in cheek. Finally, we have opened bids on our CASA 7 reconstruction. You've heard me talk many times about our frustrations with regulatory agencies getting the necessary permits. We need to go out for bids. So we finally got all the required permits and wetland. We've got through our wetland work. We've had the wetland credits withdrawn. And so we opened bids for this. We opened bids on Thursday, July 25th. I was pleased to see that we received 6 bids for this 5-mile reconstruction project. And the lowest responsible bidder was below our engineer's estimate, Hellman Construction. They provided a bid of $5,400,000 $845,659.70. So that's to reconstruct 5 miles of road. That comes out to about $1.2 million per mile of road to reconstruct. So what are some other, I like to, like I said, I like to look at numbers and see what we can learn from them. That is 1.16% below our estimate. First thing that kind of tells me is like, well, maybe our engineer's estimate was a little bit low. If this is what 6 bidders are saying it costs to reconstruct 5 miles of road, we might have been a little bit low. Ideally, I like to see our engineer's estimate come in the middle of the bids, but the lowest 3 bids are within about 6% of each other. So that tells me we got good bids, I think. Everybody's bidding it the same. They're looking at the plans and the specs, and they're seeing things the same and giving us, similar prices or their best prices to do this work. The last time we had a reconstruction project that was County Road 78, and we opened bids in 2019, that was about $800,000 per mile to reconstruct it. So in 5 years, we've seen a 50% increase in construction costs. There's other factors that lead into this. 78 wasn't a federally funded job, so there's some federal requirements. Like we have a 6.9% disadvantaged business enterprise goal, which Hellman has provided subcontractors that are DBEs, as we call them, that meet that goal. And some of the other federal wage reporting requirements sometimes raises bids a little bit, and then we have some additional administrative costs. But I think realistically, going forward, that's our new number that we should be budgeting for, thinking in our heads. To reconstruct a mile of road, we're $1.2 to $1.3 million per mile to reconstruct a road. In fact, if you take the average of all bids and divide that by 5 miles, the average comes out to $1.285 million per mile of road. So, I mean, as I know we're going to have a discussion later of our 5-year plan. I think these are good recent numbers to use looking forward. 5 years down the road, $1.3 million per mile to reconstruct is something to look for. So those are some things that, just in a couple of days of opening bids and looking at numbers, I think we can glean off of that information right away.
Chris, I missed, I was looking at some documents here, but what was the previous dollar amount if we're at 1.2 to 1.3?
Well, yeah, so last time we had a multi-mile reconstruction project was County Road 78, and we opened bids in 2019. So pre-COVID, that came out to $800,000 per mile to reconstruct the road.
Mr. Chair, and I don't know, was there as many bridges, culverts in that?
There was actually more in 78.
On 78?
We had 2 bridge replacements that were box culverts on 78 that we don't have on.
But how much of that was sand versus swamp?
That is a consideration as well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chair, Chris, so based on pending approval of this, what do you see as a short-term timeline here? What's going to happen?
Okay, so since we're late in the year, we put into the spec that they have all next construction season to construct it as well. We would like them to start, but nothing says that they had to start. We did say, though, if you do start this fall, do not open up more road than you can get back gravel before winter freeze up. And then we limited that to a maximum of 3 miles. So already discussions with Hellman Construction, if they're awarded the contract, they're planning on, it sounds like, starting at the north end, CASA 4, and maybe working the first 2 miles. And that gets them down to about County Road 51, replacing centerline culverts, driveway culverts, doing all the grading and everything, and then getting it to gravel over the winter. And then they have all next summer to reconstruct the remainder 3 miles of roadway. So,
Mr. Chair,
yeah.
one thing we learned is that if you reconstruct and let it sit over the winter, I mean, if we could recommend that they try to get everything to gravel, I think you'll have a better road going long term.
Yeah, we just don't really think that's realistic in the time frame now. They're not going to be able to probably start until September, so they've got 2 months to do 5 miles. So, and we don't want to have them tear off the pavement and get it half graded or not get all the gravel and let it sit over the winter. So that's why we really wanted to restrict them to a maximum of 3 miles. And if they're only going to do 2 miles, we feel comfortable that they could get that graded to gravel and then just leave the rest pavement over the winter. And then next year we'll get that to gravel, and maybe we'll just Yeah, maybe we'll just put the base lift on it and let that sit. So at least we have a hard surface that we can plow snow off of over the next winter.
That may be a good idea because that south end is that much lower.
That is the wettest part. So, and I think that's what led to their decision to do the north 2 miles
And if
with
it
a
keeps
limited
raining.
time frame. So, and hope maybe things will dry out next summer. So,
Mr. Chair, I'm going to move for approval of the construction contract to the lowest responsible bidder, Hellman Construction, contingent upon the approval from MnDOT Office of Civil Rights.
yeah, and then could you also add authorize the county board chair to sign the contract when
And authorize the county board chair to sign the contract.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other questions? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Chris.
All right, that's all.
And if the board would approve, I would like to turn it over to, step aside from county board meeting and turn it over to Commissioner Heinen for the Community Health Board. Okay, floor is yours.
We'll now call to order the Benton County Community Health Board. Roll call, everyone's here. Approve or amend the agenda. Anything to add to the agenda?
Good morning, nothing to add.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Consent agenda item 1, what would you like to do with that?
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? Now I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Jacqueline, you're up.
Thank you. Good morning. So previously we had come to board and asked about applying for funding through the UCare Foundation for dental expansion. We did not get selected for that. Our community health specialists have identified another grant opportunity through Medica. Medica has an upcoming rural health grant that's going to look at addressing needs of rural communities and determinants of health. And so with board approval, we'd like to explore that potential grant application, submit an application and see if we can get selected with the goal of trying to find some ways to expand some dental access within Benton County.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Johnson.
Jacqueline, fast forwarding and
Yes.
hoping that someday we have a dental in here, is this something that the county is able to help quote unquote subsidize through this grant, a potential dental clinic? Or is that just
I
gonna
think
be?
I think that would be determined.
Okay.
A lot of times, the grant, when they do their community fundraising, they identify sources and they also get funding from health plans.
Okay.
This would be a smaller pot. We'd be looking up to a maximum of $10,000.
Okay.
Trying to find ways to maybe partners with schools and do some mobile dental services out in community or other avenues. We'd have to explore what's all allowable.
I guess just
but
my
yeah.
point is obviously if we're in a position
Yep.
to help.
Something
Grant
long term, yes, yeah. I think once we would have a decision on that, or once we would know more about that being a possibility, we could look more into the funding sources. But yeah, for now, we're just trying to find something in the mediary.
Sure. Thank you.
Good question. I was gonna bring that up too.
I know in the past, there's been some problems with Medica and the reimbursement rates that have not been very beneficial for the facilities doing the services.
So in this case, yeah, we wouldn't be looking for reimbursement. It would be a grant application. So we would be looking at getting a lump sum that would be awarded back, and then we would be able to determine and disseminate those funds. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Anything else, Jacqueline?
No, nothing else.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, I'll turn it over to the board chair.
Thanks, Commissioner Heinen.
10:38.
All right, I think we'll move right into commissioner meeting updates. Who would like to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
Of course, we were at the COW for the Township and Cities meeting. I think it was another successful meeting. I've heard a lot of good comments about that, and I think that's obviously something we should continue. It's a great informal opportunity to communicate with those other officials. Our BEP quarterly meeting up at Two Rivers, at an awesome facility. Eric's done a great job up there. Of course, we had our picnic, which was successful. I'm not sure the number of people that we covered, but I think it was a good turnout there again, too. Also, we were able to be involved in the Northern Hollow kind of open house, if you will, their groundbreaking. Of course, Commissioner Hyde and I sat in the Human Services Director interviews. We touched base on that earlier, and obviously very happy to have that position filled. And then Commissioner Pop and myself and Commissioner Schlangen were able to be at the Farm Family Recognition at the County Fair last Wednesday for the Almond family. And so that was well attended also. That's all I have.
Thank you. I can go. I pretty much was at everything except for the BEP quarterly. I did go to the BEP, board meeting, that month. That was, anytime you can't go, I will definitely,
Okay.
I'd love that.
And if he can't go, I'd love to go.
I'd love to go too.
Well, I'm nice, I'm glad, all these choices, eh?
So, I enjoy going to that one. It's a great group of people with
Yeah,
a
it
lot
is.
of ideas, so. I did have the APO meeting, nothing huge or exciting there. Emergency Services Board meeting, which is very dull, but, yeah, we need to be in attendance for that. Other than that, that's really about it.
Mr. Chair, if I could step in real quickly, I did reach out to Chad Koenig at Bet Communications about a week or so ago just for an update on where things are at. He did respond. It's a fairly lengthy email, so what I'll do is I'll forward it to Monty and have him send it out to you guys, but it's worth the read. It's a very kind of in-depth of what they're doing and where they're at. And just to highlight, if things stay in place, it looks like they're gonna be finished up, potentially this next spring. So-
Wow.
So you'll see the
Here in
email.
advance.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you'll see the email. I'll have Monty send it out to you and you can read it at your convenience.
Thank you.
Great, well, I'll go next. I had the same thing with all the other commissioners so far. The only difference I had is I sat on a housing committee that CentraCare is putting on. Of course, that's why I cut out at 1 o'clock
Okay.
at the picnic here, so that's all.
Well, I had, well, the good news meeting was on the 16th. The library, we formally adopted the budget for 2025. We'll see about $11,560 decrease in our funding for that.
We'll take it.
I did have another Zoom meeting on the 23rd with Tessa, and we're doing some, trying to reshuffle. We're in the same position. Our unions are locked in, and we gotta be careful what we do, or, cause they have quartiles, and I'm not super familiar how the quartiles work. Well, it makes it actually a little easier to move people up and down in lanes, but, the full board was really disappointed that a starting position in the library is $11.36 an hour. So they have to do something in order to attract people for, and they're part-time and probably not benefit eligible. So they decided that they have to do something like that. And then we had the BEP board meeting after that meeting. We did approve the budget there. There will be no increase to the counties except to the county. We are gonna have an increase to individuals and businesses and banks as far as that goes. I think it was probably about a $25 increase for individuals that wanna be, and then some of the businesses was maybe up to about $300.
You're talking BEP?
Yeah.
To belong to BEP. Yeah, and we've lost a few members that are not deal. And I'll comment to Commissioner Johnson is that, this is gonna be a $2 million facility west of Foley when they're done. And that was, that's quite the gig. I hope that it all is. And the other part that you're kind of satisfied with is that the Initiative Foundation is very thorough in where they put money, and they were willing to put almost $1 million in this thing. So I'm comfortable that that will succeed. And we do have a couple more businesses that are looking for a revolving loan on that half too. So, yeah, and I agree. There's a lot of good people on that board that really take an interest in this
To
group.
piggyback off that, Commissioner Pop, I think we really need, I know we fund that roughly $125,000 right now, but I think we really need to set aside some more dollars that could be at disposal. They didn't have to go out and potentially get this $1 million grant for us. Look at what that's gonna save on levy dollars. If we throw them an extra, certain percentage over there because of all that, I'd be so in favor of that. It's gonna keep them doing, outside the lines work for the county.
Yeah. I mean, this project that Amanda did for this grant, this was beyond,
way beyond.
Way beyond what she really has, her day-to-day activities. And I think some of that is coming forth when you see, Pam was a little bit, not real slow getting going, but boy, she has jumped into this thing. We also did agree to send her to a 2-day conference on economic development and stuff up in, I believe it's in Duluth.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we don't get her involved
Right.
and keep her interest there, I think she was a good hire. It took a long time to find this person.
When I looked at the budget, when I went to the BEP board meeting, and the budget was within like $500 or something like that, I don't want those two looking at the budget going, oh my, are we gonna have payroll covered in the next, at the end of the year or whatever? We gotta get away from, these two individuals are doing just a stand-up job. So.
Yeah, it's, you just look at the number of dollars she's levied to Benton County, that if she wasn't there, I don't know who was doing. We didn't, first 4 or 5 years, we didn't get no dollars hardly
Exactly.
levied to Benton County compared to now.
So. Okay, you good?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay.
Ready? The Central Minnesota Council on Aging, it sounds like the senior linkage line is not going to be funded by the United Way. They're having some IT issues, and they're working on the mileage reimbursement through AMC and at the federal level too, to NACO, to get the mileage rates up for the volunteers. So that's moving forward. Then I went to the reliability, Northland Reliability Project hearing, and that was there was a lot of problems with where the lines are going. It doesn't sound like they're gonna be taking the other line down and they're adding a new line. And the farmers and the landowners are just upset about having more land disappear from their homesteads, and it wasn't a very friendly meeting, I say, towards the project.
Commissioner Schlangen, I had a few calls, and the calls I received were from a few individuals that were very small landowners that did not want it going through their property. I didn't hear a lot of comments from landowners that were, because, virtually, they're getting paid pretty well for this power line to go through their property. It's not like they're not getting anything, and the people that have contacted me were small, 30, 40 acre owners. The ones that seem to have, 200-300 acres crossing didn't seem like it bothered them, because they understand the footprint is gonna be big at the beginning when they're constructing, but it's gonna be pretty much the same footprint when they're done, as what they have now.
So, yeah, and they weren't following like highways and stuff like that, like most.
Well, they're
power lines
following
and
an
stuff
existing
do.
line in my book.
Majority of the existing line, yeah, that's normal.
Yeah, so, and then, let's see, I had one more. Oh, I got to go to the swearing in for our attorney, for his, the judgeship.
Carl Schmidt, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Heine, are you?
I think that was it.
Commissioner Heine, you have another one?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out. I'm doing another radio show tomorrow morning with Jay Codwell, and I'm bringing Sean in and a foster care parent about foster care, of how important it is in the community. So that'll be at 8:15 tomorrow morning.
Okay. I got one more thing. I want to thank Commissioner Johnson and Commissioner Heinen for their work on the Human Services Board individual. Great job. I wish the HR person would have went as well as theirs did. But I think we live and learn by some procedures that maybe didn't take place in the later one, that took place in the earlier one. So I wanted to make sure that was on record. These individuals work for us, and we tell them what we the procedure we want. So,
Mr. Chair, we had great candidates.
We really did.
We did.
Okay.
So it was well spent, the money with DDA on this end, so.
all right. We'll any commissioner, comments? If not, seeing no, committees of the whole, we'll, Monty?
I think our calendars are.
I'll be brief.
Okay.
We need to commit two to the record, which occurred previously, the Northern Reliability Project public hearing, July 25th, and the Northern Hollow Winery groundbreaking event, July 29th. We'll commit those to the record.
Okay.
New items, you're invited to the foster care, Benton County Foster Care Picnic, which is August 13th from 5 to 7 at New Life Church here in Foley. Again, that's August 13th, 5 to 7, New Life Church in Foley.
For anybody who has not been to that one, I would highly
It's good.
recommend it.
Yep, it's good to go.
What day was that?
August 13th.
Tuesday.
We have one
Next
final
Tuesday.
one. I believe Commissioner Johnson has recommended or suggested you all may be interested in attending land use training offered by MCIT August 29th from 9 a.m. to 3. Again, August 29th from 9 to 3 at the Park Event Center in.
Wade Park.
Way Park, yep.
Yeah, this says St. Cloud. That's like, no, that's in Wake Park, right? The Park Event Center in Wake Park. Again, this is put on by MCT. They've been doing this for many years. It's really good training on land use law and practices. Looks like you're going to focus on cannabis, the 60-day rule, how to conduct public hearings. Anyone interested at this point in attending?
I am.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner
I
Pop?
would like to. I don't know my travel schedule for that Thursday.
Okay, well,
Put me down.
Put
Let
me
us know.
down too,
okay.
because I have no idea either.
I won't be going to August 29th.
Okay, thank you. So we got the other four board members. Okay, then Beth will make those arrangements. That's all we have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, if I could, Monty, I don't know that we have to have a separate one, but we should keep it on the docket about starting one for wetland contracts / solid waste / what are we gonna do with that position discussion.
Okay.
I don't know that it needs to be a standalone. I don't know that it's that long of a discussion, but, so I don't know how you wanna make a note that we talk about it at our next board meeting or something?
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, I will bring it up because we need to set your final budget, Cal, too, sometime,
Sure.
in early September,
And we
right?
need to give Roxanne plenty of time to be able to put information together. So.
Yeah, consider all the various options and impacts, sure,
Yep.
of course. Yeah, we'll make a note of that for the next board meeting.
Okay, with that, I'll move for approval of the cows.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. One more motion?
Yes.
Okay, motion to adjourn. If you guys don't mind, we'll take 5 and then come back to ditch.
Yep.
Highway,
We're
highway,
adjourned.
cow.